if you're a Protestant and you think that Catholics can be saved, then why not jump on board? Come on, we'd love to have you. So today I'm going to watch a short a Protestant explaining why you shouldn't be Catholic, even though Catholics can be saved. And I'm going to respond. I haven't seen it yet. We're going to check it out. Here we go.
Whenever people ask me this question on my YouTube channel, I thought I'd make a short response. They said, Gavin, if you believe that it's possible to be saved as a Catholic, why not just be Catholic? That way, if you're wrong, you can still be saved. But if you're Protestant and you're wrong, then you can't be saved. And I would say three things. First of all, it's not necessarily the case that if you're Protestant and you're wrong, you won't be saved. Most Catholics would say the same thing today, post-Vatican II, to Protestants. It's possible that they could be saved. Second of all, the fact that salvation...
Okay, his first point is that Catholics teach that Protestants could also be saved, and that's true with a caveat. So this is a really important teaching of the church that a lot of people don't understand fully. In order to be saved, according to the Catholic Church, you have to, one, you can do it the regular way, where you're Catholic and you practice your faith and you receive the sacraments, and you can get to heaven that way, just regular way, ordinary Catholic teaching. That's the first way. The second way is that you can be saved through something called invincible ignorance. So hypothetically, let's say that somebody knows infallibly that the Catholic Church is the one true church established by Jesus Christ for the salvation of souls. And then they choose not to be a part of that church. If you're willfully rejecting what you know that Jesus established, you can't be saved. So in order for you to get into heaven as a Protestant, according to the Catholic Church, you need something called invincible ignorance. Now, invincible ignorance, in order for somebody to be truly invincibly ignorant, they need three things. One, they need to not know something. That's why they're ignorant. Two, they need to have no chance of knowing it. No reasonable chance, anyway. So if you could have known, you could have studied, you could have gone to Mass with your friend who invited you, you could have gone to these Bible studies, and you knew, well, I probably should do that. I should probably look into my faith and see what I believe and why I believe it. But instead you chose to stay home and do something that you enjoyed more, watch a movie, play video games or something like this. Well, you don't know, but it's your fault you didn't know. You didn't study for the test, and that's why you failed it. So in order for it to be invincible ignorance, you have to not know. You have to not have had a chance to know. And the third thing is you have to have the disposition to have done better if you had known. So if somebody's like, oh, yeah, I really didn't know that was a sin, and I didn't have a chance to know that was a sin, but probably would have done it anyway. That's not going to work. That's not going to help you. So while it is true that the Catholic Church does not teach that every single person who's ever died not explicitly confessing the Catholic faith has gone to hell, that's not what the church teaches. It's more difficult to get in the extraordinary way. The ordinary way is just to do it in the way that I think is right, is be Catholic and receive the sacraments and love your faith and know your faith and love Jesus and serve Jesus, him first before all else, and that's how you get to heaven. So let's see here. Let's get to his second point and see what Gavin has to say.
Is possible doesn't mean every person will be saved who's in that context. Catholic theology may not make salvation impossible, but it may make it still more difficult and less fruitful. And thirdly, I would say...
Okay, so it feels like he's making my argument back to me, or maybe I'm making his argument back to him. It's the idea that if you think the Catholic Church is the one true faith, which I do, then the easiest way to be saved is be Catholic. And for him, he thinks the Protestant church, I don't know about which Protestant church, I don't know much about Gavin, but he thinks one of the Protestant religions is the correct one. And so he thinks that you can be saved by being a Catholic, even though it might be more difficult. So it sounds like he's kind of making the same argument I am, just in the opposite direction. Let's see how he concludes here.
This whole way of thinking is too sort of mercenary and transactional. The goal of life is not to place the safest bet on making it into heaven. It's to love God with everything that we are and seek the truth with every fiber of our being. So no one should ever embrace something they don't believe is true.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good point. You shouldn't embrace anything that you think is false. every single person, every single man, woman, and child on earth has essentially two obligations if they want to get into heaven. One is they have to follow their conscience. You can't do something good if your conscience is telling you that it's wrong. You have to follow your conscience to the degree that you can. And you have to really, really listen to that, because that's the voice of God speaking in you in a very real way, telling you what's right and what's wrong. So the first thing you have to do to get to heaven is follow your conscience. The second thing is you have to inform your conscience. You have to shape your conscience accordingly. Because if you have a poorly formed conscience, it may not be working very well, and you may be falling into errors that you didn't even know you were falling into. So if you're doing those two things, you are following your conscience in good faith, and you're informing your conscience, aided by God's grace to the best of your ability, then you're doing a good job. And that's going to be what you need to do to be saved. For Catholics, Protestants, Muslims, it doesn't matter, atheists, if you're doing those two things, you can be certain that you're at least headed in the right direction. So that's what I would say. I think Gavin is a really intelligent guy. I think he makes a lot of good points a lot of the time. I certainly obviously don't agree with him on everything, but I think that he's a really good guy. And yeah, that's my take. So if you like the video, please like the video. Thanks, guys.